before we get to the main event, which is to introduce Chief Lumpkin, I want to recognize first the dedicated public servants who serve on our DeKalb County Board of Commissioners. A CEO is nothing unless you can at least get the support of the county commissioners. I'm just telling you that. It means nothing. And so I want to introduce our county commissioners. I know the presiding officer, newly elected, Jeff Brady is here. Now, he's not shaking hands today, and I don't need to say anymore. So if he doesn't shake your hand, don't be offended. Thank him. But doing a great job. Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, stand up, Commissioner. Commissioner Greg Adams is here, stand up, Commissioner. Bishop Greg Adams, thank you. And Commissioner Steve Bradshaw, I saw him earlier, Commissioner Bradshaw. And of course, the hardest working man in politics, Commissioner Larry Johnson. Isn't it wonderful? I love it. I want all the other department heads and employees of DeKalb County to please stand. I know we have several here. Stand up. Let's give them a round of applause, our department heads. We have judges here. I want our judges to stand. I may have to go back and practice law one day. Judge Adams, where are our judges? Judge Curtis Miller, my former law partner. Stand up again, Judge. Look. While I was in the legislature, he used to pay all the bills at the law practice over there. And thank you so much. I'm going to ask our Congressman, Congressman Hank Johnson, to come forward and to offer greetings from the U.S. Capitol this morning. Congressman Johnson.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How wonderful it is to be back at home. And I tell you all, I'm in Washington, D.C. having a ball representing you in Washington, D.C., but seeing it through the vantage point of a former locally elected official as I am, I can tell you that regardless of what you see or what you're bombarded with in the media in terms of what's happening on the national level, everything still has to move forward here on the local level. And no matter what happens on the national level, the toilets have to be flushing. And I start with that because it's important that all parts of the body are recognized as being of equal value and equal importance, because if the toilets stop up, we got a problem, Houston. And so no matter what's happening on a national level, we got to keep the toilets operating. We got to keep the drinking water flowing. We got to pick up the trash. And we got to do that in an atmosphere of tranquility. And who is responsible for making sure that everything is tranquil and that the rule of law, because we have a national, we have our U.S. Constitution and everything, but we also have our state laws, local ordinances that have to be enforced. So our local law enforcement maintaining domestic tranquility is so very, very important. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be amongst the law enforcement officers. When it comes down to people talking about what's happening in law enforcement and our law enforcement agencies, which also accommodate our intelligence apparatus, because if y'all don't think our local law enforcement community is using its eyes and ears to keep us safe, and they're doing things that we don't know about based on their intelligence gathering, if we think that they're not doing that, then I ask you to take another look, because they're keeping us safe from enemies, foreign and domestic. So I'm happy to be here this morning as we welcome our new Assistant Public Safety Director to DeKalb County. I look forward to meeting him. I'm so happy to see our law enforcement community out. I want you to know that, that we all thank you for your service to our community. We thank you for keeping us safe, and we have confidence in your integrity. And thank you. So don't get it twisted, y'all. What you see happening on the national level is something to be concerned about. We'll take care of that. Meanwhile, you have great elected officials here, great local officials, great appointed officials who are making sure that everything keeps going. And so I just want you to know that you have my full support, and working with your great CEO and all of the other commissioners, we're going to keep everything flowing like it should. So thank you so much.
Congressman Johnson mentioned that let's give all of our public safety, first responders, second responders, a rousing round of applause. Thank you so much. We have with us, of course, the dedicated and brave men and women, the DeKalb Police Department. Chief Fulham, raise your hand. Give the chief in particular. DeKalb Fire and Rescue is being celebrated all over the nation, all over the world for the heroic job that they did a few weeks ago over in Avondale. They were recently honored at the state capitol by Atlanta Rotary Club. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. And it's a collaborative effort with 911, Emergency Management, Medical Examiner's Office. Director is here. Give him a hand. Thank you so much. And now, without further ado, I want to introduce the person that you all actually came here to meet and greet today. Is not myself, but this is a special day for me. I'm excited oh, we have a video. I'm the last one to know, right? Zach, I want a staff meeting, you and Lakeitha, right after this. Chief Lumpkin will be over all public safety for DeKalb County. And this is a video that we produced and shared at the Athens Rotary Club last week. It may have been in the middle of the week, where our fire rescue and the men and women who effected that amazing rescue of over 100, nearly 100 DeKalb County residents were celebrated and honored. And before we introduce Chief Lumpkin, I want us to enjoy this video. And I want to thank our communication department. So Tyrone, roll it.
There's a fire in Marquise Forest on building 290. It's a porch fire. Yes, it's spreading really quick.
You said people look like they're trapped inside?
Yes. I hear people screaming.
We have the fire department already en route, okay?
A firefighter, you saved a child, you see them drop from the 3rd floor of a building.
That incredible life-saving catch caught on camera by one of the firefighters' helmet cam. Watch as firefighter Captain Scott Strupp makes the save of his life, catching 5-year-old Destiny Nelson from a 3-story fall. Destiny's father dropping her from the 3rd floor of this burning building. 12 people were trapped in that burning building outside Atlanta. All were rescued by those firefighters.
The video going viral is incredible. Firefighters catching a child out of a burning building.
Take a look at this fire video. It had families trapped, some of them even jumping for their lives, and firefighters catching babies in their arms.
We were catching babies like a football, literally. I mean, there were adults that were on the balcony that were dropping their babies right into our arms.
Heart-stopping drama as a toddler is tossed from a burning building into the arms of a firefighter.
Back now with the desperate moments for a terrified family having to decide whether to toss their children to firefighters 3 stories down. ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, dramatic helmet cam video revealing the moment firefighters pull up to a raging fire engulfing an apartment complex.
An early morning apartment
apartment fire left several injured, including children. Our Daniel Wilkerson was at the scene this morning. He has the latest.
12 people taken to a hospital. I'm told of those, 8 of those are children, 4 are adults. Thankfully, they have non-life-threatening injuries.
Now, let's call this even more impossible, the situation. She caught the baby standing on a ladder.
Watch as firefighter Captain Scott Strupp makes this incredible catch. Another firefighter, Captain Jackie Peckrell, catches another one of their children in her arms, a newborn twin, all while standing on a ladder.
I got about halfway up there, and here comes the baby down to my arms.
I'm extremely proud to honor the more than 60 firefighters that worked together on that cold January 3rd morning to rescue nearly 100 residents, including children.
Some Georgia firefighters being called heroes after saving several people from a burning apartment building.
And the extreme cold weather didn't slow the firefighters down. They even brought in some sand and salt just to lay down to make sure that water didn't freeze.
I'm extremely proud of the firefighters because they exemplified on a national stage, international stage, the character, the courage, and the willingness to place their lives in harm's way for others, which are the traits found in the best of our profession.
Now, in an ABC News exclusive, Captain Strupp reuniting with the little girl he saved.
It's so good to meet you. Can I have a hug? Yeah, thank you so much.
DeKalb County Fire there in Atlanta. It is amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and kudos to DeKalb County Fire Rescue. We are the best.
Wow. I shared with some people at that moment when the baby was suspended in midair and the fireman was standing below. Didn't matter whether a father was a Republican or a Democrat. Didn't matter whether he was black or white, whether the child's father was a citizen or an immigrant. It was all about saving a life. It was all about saving a life. And that's what's so special about all our men and women in uniform, as well as those who support those in uniform. They are about protecting and serving all of us. It's my privilege to introduce to you a man who I can honestly tell you has been a personal hero of mine, a person I have admired since I was a little boy. He's been a role model. He's been someone I've tried my best to emulate. He's honest. He has high integrity, an impeccable reputation. He is committed and he's focused on serving. He doesn't seek limelights or bright cameras, but then he doesn't shy away from them either. The person I want to introduce to you is Chief Joseph H. Jack Lumpkin. He is a 47-year police professional. He has held leadership roles in numerous police officer agencies, associations, and organizations. He recently served as police chief for the Savannah-Chatham Metropolitan Police Department. He has served as police chief in DeKalb, in Albany, in Savannah, and now God has blessed us that he is now the director, I'm changing the title, of public safety for DeKalb County, Georgia. In Savannah, he found an agency that, through his leadership, was able to address serious attrition. Put my glasses on. He raised employment standards and used private sector recruitment techniques to employ over 343 officers in 3 years. Savannah was bedeviled, much as we are, with funded, unfilled positions. As I stand here today, we are close to 180 officers short. This man has proven that he knows how to recruit, he knows how to train, and he knows how to get people on the job. Recruiting for character and competence. He reduced Savannah's attrition rate and substantially improved the morale and satisfaction and performance of staff. During the 2017 Savannah Chatham Metropolitan Police Department, the homicide rate has been reduced by 31% compared to 2016 statistics. Let me repeat that, Judge Adams. The homicide rate was reduced by 31% compared to the previous year. Last year, depending on what I read on the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, DeKalb's homicide rate exceeded the city of Atlanta for the first time in history. Too many of our young men and women are losing their lives as a result of violence in this county. So many young black men are being murdered on a daily basis that the media no longer counts the dead. In many cities, there's a count, but in metropolitan Atlanta, they no longer count the dead. The murder and the mayhem, we become anesthetized to it. That will change under Chief Lumpkin. He began his career as a cadet on August 1st, 1970, with the Athens Police Department. In the fall of 1970, I was a senior at Clark Central High School. His first assignment was to keep Mike Thurman and a few of us out of jail at Clark Central while I was a senior. He demonstrated at a time where the black school and white school were consolidated, he was a person of respect that all of us could turn to for leadership, focus, and direction. I can go on, but I'm going to stop. In 1992, Jack Lumpkin was named police chief of DeKalb. Chief Lumpkin has served on the board of directors of the governing board of the 30,000 plus member International Association of Chiefs of Police. He is among a select number of law enforcement CEOs internationally awarded the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. He is also the ACCPD to a second level of accreditation distinction in attaining public safety communication accreditation for the E911 Communication Center. For over a decade, he served as a national assessor and on the assessment team. He is the regional vice president of the National Association of Black Law Enforcement Executives, a life member of NOBLE, a Police Executive Research Forum member. He's a past member of the National Association of Black County Officials and a past member of the National Drug Court Institute Advisory Board. He served for 12 years on the Georgia Governor's Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which he chaired. He is a post-certified instructor and holds management and chief executive certification for the state of Georgia. Whew. He received in 2014, he was named the Outstanding Police Chief of the Year by the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. The Chamber of Commerce recently honored Chief Lumpkin with the Bentley Award. In 2016, the Boy Scouts of America recognized him with the Whitney M. Young Award. He received his Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice from Bernard University, his MPA from Columbus State University. He is a graduate of the 58th Administrative Office course of the University of Louisville, the Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy, the 6th session of the Georgia Command College. In 2017, Chief Lumpkin graduated from the premier internal and external leadership development program for heads of agencies with more than 500 officers. He is a graduate of Leadership DeKalb, Leadership Albany, and Leadership Savannah. He is married to the lovely Miss Sandra Lumpkin, and she is here. Miss Lumpkin, please stand. Give Miss Sandra a round of applause. They have 3 lovely, beautiful children and 4 grandchildren. Now, I want to introduce to you a man who's going to make a difference in law enforcement in DeKalb, in Metro Atlanta, and he will continue to do what he's done for the last 40 years, is make a difference in law enforcement in the state of Georgia. Chief Lumpkin.
Thank you all. Thank you. Please sit down. Please sit down. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thank you for the invitation to join your team. Thank you for the DeKalb commissioners for agreeing with the CEO that I should join the team DeKalb. Thanks to everyone who has come out today. I look forward to being an integral part of the team that's going to take DeKalb County to new heights. With the chief operating officers, working with the chief operating officer and the other deputy chief operating officers, I think we can develop a synergy that we get more productivity out of everyone, that we're more efficient and that we're more effective, and that we establish a quality of service that each and every one of us would demand for our own family members. I tell people quite frequently that it's not difficult to understand what to do. Just do the types of things that you would think mother would want you to do. Don't do things that mother would shake her head at if she saw them on the 6 o'clock news and said that boy or that girl wasn't raised like that. And you provide the same level of service that you would demand any other person provide for your significant others. If we do that, we don't have to know all those rules and that. We just provide quality service. That's why we exist. As leaders and managers, I think what we do is that we show people and demonstrate to people and create environments that they can actually accomplish things that they never thought they could. We help them grow and develop. That's what leadership is all about. Leadership and management is the growth and development of teams for the future. We're going to plant seeds in the next 7 years or so that others will benefit from. It's we, and it's not Jack Lumpkin. Very, very few people have ever accomplished anything that's monumental by themselves. Now, they may have taken credit, but there's a team there. It's a we. And for a public safety perspective and the great teams that we have, the fire that you saw, and they do things like that daily. The police do things like that daily in terms of they're noteworthy, but they aren't captured and we don't tell our story very well. Others tell the stories when we don't perform exceptionally, and we have to learn to be able to do that. But it's a we issue. It's a co-production of public safety. It's a shared responsibility. Our job is to do the tough lifting. Your job as citizens and elected officials is to support and provide us with that type of information that we need to do and to be where we need to be, when we need to be, to take those tough actions. And we have to perform in a manner that DeKalb is not a safe haven for criminals, that they have to leave this county. I have operated always on that each year we ought to be safer than the previous year. Actually, my father said every day that the sun sets, you ought to be better individually than you were when it rose. There's continuous growth and improvement. And as Dr. Fannin said years ago in Leadership Georgia, we went there too, Mike, at Leadership Georgia and we had the opportunity to drive Dr. Fannin around in his last few years when he was no longer driving. That what a leader does is a leader will always stay alive as long as he lives or she lives, that you will always be growing. And that's what we're about. I think you'll see that your systems here aren't broken. They need tweaking. You have great people. We have to, first order of business is to get more officers on the street that are funded, to recruit for character. And I think each agency is going to recruit for character, not just the police. We cannot develop character in people. They have to have character. We can help individuals grow and develop their competencies. And we're certainly going to do that. We can raise standards and the crisis intervention training that we teach, the wellness to be able to recognize issues and challenges with mental health. I started teaching that in Georgia in 1997, 98 era. And every member of the Athens-Clarke County Police Department had actually became a crisis interventions trained, not a special team, but every member was taught. And it reduced the issues and challenges that we had with citizens. On the other hand, we also have to look at our first responders. We have to keep them well. If the police, if the communication, and everything starts with 911 communications. If 911, if the PSAP, the public safety answering point, does not do it well, it's difficult to recover from it. If they don't get that fire call out within so many seconds to the fire truck, then that's going to extend the response time and make the firemen who arrive job that much more difficult. So everyone has to recruit for the character, and everyone has to train and develop people. And we're going to do that. I think we've got some good leaders. What am I going to do specifically? First, we're scanning. We're scanning to see where are we. And we're going to analyze that. I had an opportunity to visit 3 different sections, police, fire, 911 communication, and I guess the medical examiner this week. And we'll continue to have those conversations and where are we? Scan, determine our status now, and then analyze that. But I don't want to just analyze it myself. Of course, the team's going to analyze it. But we're going to be calling on citizens and representatives, stakeholders in DeKalb to help us with that. Where do we need to be? And then, since I'm responsible and the chief operating officer is responsible, I reserve the right for the final edit. We're going to scan, we're going to analyze, and then we're going to respond to every issue. And when we respond, whatever solutions, et cetera, we develop, we're going to then assess what did that do. Did it actually solve the problem? Did it solve 10% of the problem? Did it solve 80% of the problem? And we're going to start the process over until we eliminate them. That's the way we will recruit. We will recruit by asking citizens, groups, to help us identify how do we sell DeKalb County to the generations that we're hiring from. And I said generations because we had in Savannah Chatham, we had a 60-year-old just actually tear up the physical agility test. He beat most 25-year-olds out there. And he went on. So we will hire anyone who meets the standards and no one who does not meet the standards. No one that does not, and that's just a political reference. We hire according to standards, not according to who you are. We'll move forward with that. You and the people of DeKalb in a co-production mode, you know how to sell DeKalb better than we. What worked in Savannah was that a group of business people who are really marketers came in and helped us and said, this is the way we can sell Savannah. And this is the way we can target if females, Latinos, blacks, whites, males, females, all of that varied diversity within our communities. I would guess you probably believe we'll see more females in policing. I've been telling on the national board of IACP for the last 7 or 8 years, I've told them that what my mother said, right, was that when the job got really tough and you could not provide the full value that it ought to have, society tends to give it to women to do. She was a young lady that would not let you forget that she was competent and that she was qualified. And just because she was a female, when my father became ill running the funeral home, and she had to stop teaching and come to run the funeral home, she was actually, they say, picking up a deceased person because other people were out. And the hospital did not want to release the body to her. You have to be a licensed funeral director. And she pulls out her little thing. I am. Just because I am a female, you are questioning it. That's was her mindset. You're going to see people, I think, of a wide diversity in our police department, in our 911 center. The other places I've had, I actually saw more males in 911 communications than I saw the other day when we toured it. Not criticizing, but men can be great communication officers too, a 911 dispatch. So knowledge, skills, and abilities are what we're looking for with the character.
Recently, my car was broken into, and I had to go down and get my police report. In DeKalb County, we have one location that you have to go to get a police report. Could you guarantee us that you would try to establish more places for people to go to get police reports or online, so that we don't have to travel across the whole entire DeKalb County to get a police report, maybe put it in the precincts or online?
I will guarantee you that we'll look directly at that, and the technology is the answer to it. If we can put it up there, that will reduce our costs and provide the service that you desire. We'll look and see what we can do with that. That will be one of our goals. We don't want you. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Linda Jones, and I live in District 3, Commissioner Johnson. And Major Katie Johnson is the major for the area where we are. And I have I live in Grand Forest Subdivision, and I have a very good relationship with them, and they're doing a great job. But my question to you is, what do you plan to do for the Ellenwood area, which is the southernmost part of DeKalb County, in terms of making sure that we are safe, not only from fire, but from crime?
What I plan to do, and this is on our radar because of the issues and challenges that you have. I can't tell you specifically what we're going to do. What we'll look at it week to week to make certain that we are reducing incidents, and we are trying different strategies to address the specific crimes and the quality of life issues that you're suffering from. We'll speak with the major, the chief, and I, and we'll get a briefing on what we're doing, and then ask the question, what can we do in addition to ensure the quality of life improves? And that includes reduction in each crime.
Chief Lumpkin, I'm Bob Dallas, and I had the privilege of serving as the Director of Highway Safety for 8 years. And CEO Thurman and Commissioners, thank you for bringing us Chief Lumpkin. And I say that for this reason, and there will be a question. As Director, I got to work with you as Chief in addressing the things in Athens-Clarke County dealing with road safety. As you might know, Athens-Clarke County is a watering hole to many of the surrounding counties, and you did a fantastic job of working with the students and the folks who came there to prevent the problem, not to fix it afterwards. And that to me is just so critical. And so my question of you is, when you look back at your career in Athens and in Savannah, which by the way, they were so fortunate to have you as we are now, what did you learn from those two that you think in DeKalb County we would benefit from that we perhaps are not doing today?
I'm not certain with 5 days on the ground. I'm not certain that what you're not doing today. I would tell you that in terms of, I've never seen a community that has reached its full level of leadership training. In terms of what I believe is each member of the public safety team, each member of the DeKalb County team employee has to be a leader. We all lead in some manner, whether it's in our homes, whether it's with our youth, we are with our families, and we have to teach them leadership. We have to teach behavioral leadership principles that people can apply not only in their professional life, but in their personal and family life. When we make the person whole, then we get a better work product in the end. It's part of wellness. The President Obama's 6 pillars, we'll certainly be working on those type of things. We'll certainly be working on the mental health for teaching and crisis intervention. We were teaching it completely in Savannah, Chatham, but then the state has changed things where it makes it much more difficult to provide it for every recruit officer. The philosophy that some people have is that it needs to be taught as an advance. I say the officer needs to have every knowledge, skills, and abilities when he goes out the door onto the street. We don't want a challenge to occur because we had not provided something we know can help. On the other hand, also, we want to keep our officers and our first responders mentally well and psychologically well, physically. We think about wellness as we need to lose weight, we need to check our vitals and stuff, but we also have psychological wellness too. Some of the studies said about 10% of us don't belong on the street on any given day. But if you look at every vocation, profession, it's like that. It's just that what police officers are going to do is that they are operating in critical mass wherein life and death situations can be demanded. So we need them well.
Good morning and welcome to you to our county. I worked in public media for a long time, so I knew about when you were appointed in Savannah and the work that you did. I live in South DeKalb, and I'm very concerned about the gang violence because the AJC is constantly reporting about it. So I'd like to know about that. What are the plans to tackle the gang violence? And also as a citizen, what can I do to keep my neighborhood safe?
Thank you, thank you. We're going to practice, and the chief, we have talked about what we are doing. What I think works, and from Albany gang problems to Athens murder rate to in Savannah, Chatham, to reduce the gang violence, about 0.5% of the population statistically drives gun violence. They are the shooters. We have to practice intelligence-led precision policing. I'm not talking about we're going to sweep everybody up who's drinking a beer on this. But those who are shooting, those who are dangerous, they, and 0.5% of the population is very small, but they commit a significantly disproportionate amount of crimes, not just shootings, robberies, drug sales, aggravated assaults, domestic violence. And domestic violence, in my opinion, is one of the incubators of violent crime. Children are born hidden, striking, and doing those things. We're going to actually apply that as the Kennedy model that came out of Boston in the 60s. He's now at John Jay College. You can reduce violent crime by going after those. We're going to develop relationships, hopefully, and I don't want to overpromise here, but I'll be visiting the U.S. Attorney's Office and asking for their help, that certain people need to be prosecuted fairly and not go to our state prisons. We had gotten the opportunity that if we were convicting you in Savannah, Chatham as a violent gang member, then you would be housed west of the Mississippi to break those gangs affiliations up. We were not going to send you there to a particular prison to be promoted, because we're going to look at strategies to go after them. And we're going to keep a laser focus on them. New York City finished the year with less than 300 homicides for 8.4 million people. If they can do it, we can do it. It can be done.
Welcome to you, Director Lumpkin. My name is Annelle Elder, and I reside in Penley Hills Estate Subdivision. I have several concerns and questions, so therefore I left you a letter right up there with your name on it. I don't even want to take that much time, but I also want to let you know, please call me as a concerned citizen and let me know if it's something I can do. I want to get on certain boards and different things like that, and I have been very active in my community, so I look forward to working with you, and just thank you and welcome.
Thank you, and we certainly will take advantage of that. It's something that every person in this room can do, and every person within our community. And we have to work out the systems how we would do that. We don't want you living in a neighborhood or next door to a problem, and that we're coming up knocking on the door and saying, did he do it? No, we don't want that. But you still can communicate with us. And our precinct commanders and our command chiefs can work out a way how you can transfer information to us with the, if you see something, say something.
You mentioned issues with mental health intervention. I want you to say this question.
Yes, sir.
I believe you set me up for that. Good morning. Welcome to DeKalb County, Mr. Lumpkin, and we appreciate you coming. The initiatives that we've got started, and thanks to the CEO and Chief Conroy, dealing with veterans with mental illness. Our concern was, how do we help you to identify and to deal with veterans before you come to the scene? Now, we understand the significant effort of the police, what they have to do to secure and everything. But if you know of an individual who has a mental illness before you come there, how can we combat that situation? With our organization, the Justice for Veterans, the CEO and the police chief and Deputy Chief Porter, they came up with an excellent idea. They plan to put some things in place before it happened, maybe a nurse or something like that that can come out, so we can combat this whole situation, because it's too late once you pretty much get to the scene. So we want to identify the people with the mental illnesses. And there's a lot of veterans. So I'm speaking specifically about veterans. We've known here in the past there are veterans that have been killed who has mental illness. And the police has come out before. And then they had to come back, and that resulted in the death. So what we're trying to work out here in DeKalb County and other counties surrounding metro areas, that how are we going to combat this and how are we going to do it? And I think that the CEO, we come up with a great idea on how to do that, and I'm very satisfied. I'm not the type of person who's satisfied really easy, but I'm satisfied we're moving in the right direction to do that. So we want to look forward and say to you, whatever we can help you do to move in this initiative to make this happen, that we're willing to do it because it's a concern.
Yes.
And it's a serious concern. I'm sure you know about it all over the country. Again, we say, welcome to DeKalb County, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We're certainly sensitive to that, and Chief Porter is going to be leading that effort. My wife and I, we have a nephew that was affected, post-traumatic stress as a veteran. If we are honest as Americans, the mental health issues, Congressman, are a challenge nationally. And we ought to have enough, as Americans, we ought to have enough pride in ourselves to solve these issues. About 25% of the calls that people are receiving now have a mental health component. But 25% approximately of the police-involved shootings that have resulted in fatalities, the individuals a mental health issue component. With your veterans, it's a shame that if you read the history, veterans have always suffered more than the general population in terms of homelessness and mental health issues. And we just have to address that nationally. We'll be working locally. We want to be the leaders in that arena.
We'll take 2 more questions, and we'll be here as long as you all want to stand and talk to us, but we'll take 2 more questions, and then that'll conclude the question and answer period. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. Welcome to DeKalb. I'm a product of DeKalb. Also have been in education as a teacher here in DeKalb for over almost 20 years. And my question is, how are we combating juvenile delinquency? As far as I am also coming out of Ellenwood as well, have an increased rate of home burglaries. And from sitting down, I'm very involved with my HOA and things of that nature. And comparing videos, it seems to be a lot of teenagers that are breaking into homes. And the twofold part of that question is, what are we also doing to reach children at the elementary age area? Because I remember police just being a lot more present when I was in elementary school, and we don't see police in schools anymore.
I don't know exactly what we are doing, to tell you the truth, in terms of youth intervention. I know you have to have youth development if you're going to have a great community. If you don't develop youth, if you don't structure them, if you don't provide them with good examples, then you are not going to have safe neighborhoods. And ultimately, you're not going to have a workforce, and which then affects your economic development. We'll talk about it next week, but I really don't know today.
Welcome to DeKalb County. We spoke and exchanged greetings at the door. And I told you then what my top priority was and what I think DeKalb's top priority and the people's here's top priority. That's to get our police and first responders not just more pay, but enough pay to be competitive and to slow down our attrition. Now, the way people talk about that, we had a lot of people talking about it at every commission meeting and at this meeting. Nobody wants to talk about money. Everything that we've talked about costs money or either a reduction in other services. So I want to start learning about what can we reduce in the way of services to provide more money for our police and first responders, or how much are we willing to increase our taxes to pay for that. CEO Thurman made a broad first step and was supported by the commissioners last year in getting some increase. But we've been doing that for 20 years. We get a little increase about every 2 or 3 years. But by the time we get to what we was trying to get up to 15 years ago, it's 15 years into the future, and that deficit is much greater. So we need greater benefits and greater take-home pay for all of our police officers and first responders, and we're willing to pay the price. just tell us what it is.
Thank you, sir. We're going to holistically look at attrition and why. One thing I can promise you is that we're going to create a great working environment, and that's why we have to have leadership training. And if we could, there's throughout the cities in the large counties, there's a notion that smaller cities will wait until someone gets 3 years on with DeKalb or Atlanta, and then they will hire them, cutting their costs in terms of development. It takes $70,000, $80,000 to make an officer competent. And then 2-3 years of activity in DeKalb County is probably about 7 years in a smaller city. So it's an economic issue they've made. They've made some judgment. One of the ways to combat that is we're the place that you really want to be. When you work here, you are treated right. You've got advancements. You've got opportunities for a variety of service, and compensation and benefits, of course, are part of that. But most people leave an agency because of their relationship with their focal leader. If they think their focal leader has their best interests and is doing the types of things, and then of course and myself and the chiefs of the various entities are doing the things that are necessary for them to grow and develop, and that we're fighting for the compensation and benefits, that means something for the people. Savannah, we dropped it from around 18% to 12%. And really about 6% if you take away the terminations. We're going to have terminations. If people don't do what they're supposed to be, and it's a corruptive type of issue, it was what I call mistakes of the heart, intentional violations, we're going to have terminations. And those are good for the future.
Welcome to the county. I'm a business owner in DeKalb County. We've been in DeKalb County for 20 years. I just currently went through the rollback of pouring of alcohol from 3:55 till 2 a.m. And the commissioners, they took a lot of heat. It was, couple of months before they finally came up with their plan to make a 2 o'clock and 2:30 pouring limitation hours. And I guess what I wanted to address is code enforcement, because apparently that's a problem. The commissioners that I speak to, the communities, the leaders in the communities that I speak to say that the business owners just kind of do what they want to do. And I never realized this, but the officers don't really have the power to do anything pertaining to you closing, or if you're pouring after hours and so forth, but they can report back to the commissioners. But then again, the commissioners only have the ability to tell code enforcement. So I understand that you are looking for a new code enforcement chief or head, is that correct?
Well, code enforcement is not under
I'm sorry.
public safety.
I'm
But
sorry,
but
it's
your
not.
question
I
is relevant,
apologize
though.
then. I apologize. I didn't realize.
But we
that.
are looking for a new head
Yes,
of that
excellent.
department. That's
Well,
correct.
And the only other thing I wanted to say, it's not a question, and I apologize for that, but DeKalb County Police does a fantastic job for my business anyway, and for keeping our shopping center safe.
Thank you. Thank you. And the Chief Operating Officer William has made it plain that we're going to work cooperatively and develop synergy with code enforcement. We're not turning our backs on code enforcement and blight.
By the way, they are connected. And Operation Clean Sweep has removed over 5 tons of debris. Working with our community development office, we've demolished over 20 homes. There is a correlation between blight and crime. And that is why we have been so focused on dealing with the litter at the MARTA stops, bumping the curves, picking up the debris from the side of the road. You may have seen us out there working. that is a correlation. The chief talked about New York. It's the broken window syndrome. And if you in a community where you see things transpiring, it feeds and breeds criminal and delinquent behavior. Now, let's give the chief a round of applause. He is finished. Thank you so much, Chief. We appreciate you. Thank you, Chief. We'll be here. Let me just say this. I want to thank our men and women, law enforcement who are here. And, you know, my commitment with all you said, and before the most sobering part of this job is that we have 1,600 men and women who are in public safety. And my number one commitment, as it well with citizens, is to keep the citizens safe and keep our men and women in uniform safe. It's a two-way street. The young lady asked the question, and we ended, what else we're doing. With the support of the Board of Commissioners, last year we added funding to our summer youth employment program, right? We had 300 last summer. There'll be 400 jobs created for young men and women between the ages of 14 and 24. If you stand on the street corner, I know this, if you stand on the street corner long enough, you don't have to go find trouble. It'll come find you, right? And I've said over and over, and the commissioners have supported me, the pimp and the drug dealers shouldn't be the only one recruiting our children to come and go to work for them. That's just a fact. That's not going to happen. With recreation, we invested close to $400,000, I think, to invest in after-school programs to be much more robust. Between the time the children get home from school and the parents get home from work is a critical period of time when our young people get involved. When I was school superintendent, I found out something that surprised me. The gangs recruit in middle school. They don't recruit in high school. They recruit in middle school. And so our prevention effort had to move from high school to middle school. We are also mentioning, and the chief alluded to it, and Ms. Billups is here. Ms. Billups, raise your hand. Ms. Billups, we love you. We really love you. He mentioned the mental health intervention effort, and really, it's because of her. It's because of her. She came to meet with me, and unfortunately, her son, who was a veteran with mental health illness, who had an interaction with our department, and he lost his life as a result of that interaction. The one thing, and it was the most amazing thing that's happened to me since I've been CEO, this courageous woman, this lady, said, do promise me that you're going to do what you can so that no other mother will have to feel what I feel. So what has transpired is this mental health intervention effort that the commissioner supported and that we funded. You went to the polls last November and passed a SPLOS. 85% of that money has to be spent on roads, streets, and bridges and public safety. We're buying new equipment for fire, for police, for throughout public safety, for emergency management. We're going to give our folks the tools they need to do a better job for us. I'm stunned. I'm troubled when I see that 98 people lost their life because of homicide in DeKalb County. It's unacceptable. We may not can change it, but we sure can try harder. And that's what we're going to do going forward. Thank y'all. God bless you, and thank you for being here today.